Hello. Today we're going to be learning about working with colored pencils and drawing our mini colored pencil animal. Again, it could be any animal you want. I suggest sticking to the step-by-step instructions within the presentation on Canvas, or you can create your own animal, which is also pretty cool. When you are doing this, you are going to be given a note card piece of paper. It's going to be blank. So again, these are incredibly tiny, almost the size of my hand, very tiny. So we are going to pack this little card in with our animal. It's not going to go outside of the lines. It's going to fill up the whole page. So remember, we're talking about composition. It's one of our buzzwords. So composition means you get this empty piece of paper and you have to figure out how to fill it entirely. So again, composition, good composition. You have to think, am I going to put my animal facing this way, right? Is it going to be splat in the middle, but still be large enough where it fits the whole space? That's up to you to think about. Another buzzword, proportion. We've already been working with proportion with our portrait drawing, so with people, right? Now you need to think about your proportion of a portrait of an animal, okay? So when you look at this cat, is there anything that is off about it, proportion-wise? It's his leg. His leg is ginormous compared to this little itty-bitty leg right here, right? This leg is huge, not good for that cat. So that is bad proportion. So proportion is when you look at something and you see, well, the nose is obviously going to be smaller than the ears. The ears are obviously going to be smaller than the head. The head is obviously going to be smaller than the body, right? The feet are going to be smaller than the body, right? So it's just those things you have to look at and say, what parts of my animal are bigger? What parts of my animal are smaller? Is there anything mythical-wise that I want to add that wouldn't traditionally be in my animal? So you want to think about all those things. Mainly you want to think about composition and proportions. But first I need to show you how to use colored pencils. So it's almost exactly like using different shades of pencils, right? So number 2, number 9, all the way up there, those differences, it's basically the same thing. So again, I'm holding my pencil really light, right? Wiggle it. When you draw with colored pencil, you can draw really light to where it almost looks like a crayon. And when you do that, you can still see the white behind the paper. That's good for when you want to add in a different color for blending. What's cool about colored pencils is that if you lightly go over them again and again and again, it's like paint, and the two colors mix. So I started really lightly, and now I'm going in really darker. And when I do that, the wax inside of the pencil comes off and they blend together, those two colors. So again, really light, mixed, really light, mixed. If I press harder, I'll get those waxes to come off. Same thing for the purplish magenta color. So just like your other pencils, if you press lighter, you'll get a lighter color. Press darker, you'll get a darker color. But if you press light, you'll still be able to see your marks or your pencil strokes. So something that you could do if you want a lighter color is you could do this, and then go over it with a white. And I'm pressing so hard with my white. Not to where it breaks the pencil, but again, so that those waxes mix. And as you can see, it looks a lot better than over here, because you can still see those individual brush marks with your pencil, but here it blends in a little bit more. So blended, not blended, but pushed all the way down, There's just a difference. There's a difference. So instead of focusing on shifting to different pencils, you're going to focus on how dark do I want this green to be in this area versus how light do I want this green to be in a different area. And I'm adding. So again, if you're confused on blending, you always start light. Always start light. So again, starting really light with a green. Go in really light with a blue on top of it. Really light with the green. Really light with the blue. What I like to also do is if one color is really strong, I like to do my second color more. So for instance, this green is really strong, so my blue is having a hard time popping through, so that's why I'm using more of my blue right now. See a greenish blue. So that is the beauty of blending with colored pencils. But first, before you can begin, you might want to practice what I did right here, blending and pressing hard, pressing light. But before you begin your actual animal, you want to take a regular pencil, and that is when you're going to do your sketch. Remember your generic sketch of your animal. So we'll do that, and then I'll come right back. And when you do this, it's good to have a reference on your laptop or computer just to see what the actual animal looks like while you're drawing your sketch. But as you can see, compositionally wise, I just about filled in the whole space. Like, this is not a tiny frog. If you couldn't guess what I was drawing, I'm drawing a frog. This is not a tiny frog over in the corner, right? This is a huge frog that covers the whole space compositionally, and it does not go off of the space. It is staying inside the space. So after you have your generic sketch, which is, again, just shapes that we already know, circles, ovals, lines, then you can start going in with those details. Okay, so once you go in and you start adding those shapes, you're going to go back in and erase a lot of what you don't want to see. And for colored pencils, you want to just drag your eraser almost everything, really. You want to just barely be able to see the lines that you drew. Because if you don't, then colored pencil is going to show through those lines, and we don't want that. So when you're drawing your animal, you need to think about if you are making fur or if you're making scales or slime. So if you're making fur, you want to do upper motions like this, right? Because it's each fur individually put down onto the body. And it is going to take a while, but that's why we're doing it so small. Is because colored pencil does take a while because it's a lot of repeating. It's a lot of light color, light second color, light first color, light second color. So it's a lot of work, which is why we are doing it on this itty bitty little note card. But when you're done, it looks really cool. So again, if you're doing fur, just individual fur lines. And they're going the same way. A lot of fur goes in one direction. So when you're looking at your animal picture, you want to say, does the fur go up? Does the fur go down? Does the fur go sideways, left, right? Where does the fur go? Does it change positions? Does it stay the same throughout the whole animal? Same thing with scales. Like if you're doing a snake, what direction do the scales go? Oh my goodness. Do the scales go? Is it the same direction? Do they change? So you just need to look at whichever animal that you're doing. You need to say what kind of texture is that? Is it fur? Is it slick? Is it smooth? Is it slimy? Is it fluffy? Or is it just plain furry? You need to look at your picture and you need to say, okay, this is what it is. This is what my animal is, my texture is, and here's where it changes throughout the body. And again, if you're doing a mythical animal, that is entirely up to you in some parts. But I want you to keep it semi-realism. So if I am making a two-headed dog, it's still going to have fur. So it's still going to have those individual fur lines, right? Or if I'm giving a cat horns, the cat is going to be fur and the horns are going to be smooth and slick. So you need to think about that when you're drawing your own. Something that I like to do is I like to take whatever color I want to mostly use on my animal and I'll make sort of an outline, right? And this is so soft because when you look at me, I don't have a black outline, right? But a lot of drawings do. So this is not what we're trying to create. What we're trying to create is something for our eyes to follow while we are drawing. So this is just a fun little way to basically help you remember where to put those colors. So we want it really light. I'm talking so light you can barely see it. It is only here to help you later. And then you'll just go through the whole body. So again, just a really light outline of what the majority of your animal color is going to be. And if you're doing different sections, of course those outlines could be different. I really don't want to see an outline in black. That's not what I want to see. Unless you are doing a penguin, that would make sense to me because penguins are black. But if you're not doing a mostly black animal, I would do a color of what other color is going to be mostly drawn, which is why I did green, because I'm doing a frog. So when you actually get started, you are going to pick colors that you want to use in different sections, and you're going to lightly go over those areas throughout the whole piece. So we're not pressing down yet. We'll get to that soon. So after you have lightly went over all of your animal, right, all of it lightly, now we are going to start pressing harder. So this is when you can begin filling in those black spaces like eyes or noses, or you could begin blending colors that you want to blend, right? Going over with one, going over with another, going over with one, going over with another. You can start that now. Make sure you add those shadows. So when you look at your piece, I'm going to say that I need a darker green for under the bottom of my frog. Definitely a darker green underneath my chin because that's where my hand is. So if I put my hand underneath my chin, there's going to be some shadow. So darker, definitely here. Definitely darker under on the belly, between the legs, right behind this leg. So again, shadows and highlights. Highlights are going to be at the tippy top of whatever you're drawing or inside the eyelid. So you're blending two colors together, you're pressing harder with your pencil, you're adding highlights, shadows, all that good stuff. And make sure you are staying inside of your animal. I don't want anything in the note card's background, right? We want to stay in the animal. Personally, something that I like to do is I like to take my white and I like to already blend in the top of my animal because I already know that this is going to be the lightest parts of my body. So by blending that in with the white, when I go over it with a different color, it's not going to be so dark and so harsh. As you can see, I'm turning my paper in certain ways where I want the skin to go upwards, right? Because if I scribble in all different ways, it's not going to look right. So if I keep turning my paper to where I only have to go in an upwards direction, it'll make it easier on me, and it'll look a little bit better if everything's going in the same direction. So as you can see, I'm going around everything, and I'm supposed to go around. I'm going over everything I need to go over. And you need to have a lot of patience when you do this. The more patience you have, the better your piece is going to look. And by piece, I mean piece of art. Because that's what we make here. We make pieces of art. If you feel your pencil starting to dull, make sure you sharpen it. If you have a sharpened pencil, you can get a little bit more action with it, so you can get around those corners. Okay. Add some more blending. Again, you're going to switch back and forth a lot. When you shade and you don't have, let's just say, a darker green, like if I was shading, I'd use a darker green, but I don't have a darker green. So what I like to do is I like to lightly go over with either brown or black. And again, you really don't want to use black a lot, except for like the eyes and the nose. So I'm going to go in with brown and just add some more shadows. And there we go. I went back in, added highlights, shadows, all the good stuff. Blend, 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 blend. It's gonna take a while. It's okay. Just keep going until you have the whole animal packed in with that color. It's really bright. It's almost as good as painting. If you have any questions, let me know. And thanks for watching.